Hey everybody, so since I can't be up there today, I'm going to be bringing you your lab from my house in Austin, Texas. So I've set up my studio in my backyard, and hopefully we get visited by some of the deer that live back here too. So we're going to begin with mobilizing our fascia, and this is an exercise that I learned actually at a Oregon Osteopathic Association meeting a couple years ago by Dr. Slyko. So those of you in the Oregon region may meet him or become familiar with him in the coming years. So first we're going to work with the OA and cervical mobilization. So you want to begin by just rotating your neck in circles and going nice and slow. So you want to kind of think of this as massaging the base of your skull. So we'll go in one direction 5 times, and then change to the other direction. And very good. And you're just going slowly. You don't want to be too rough. It could cause more tension. Just thinking about opening up that OA. Good. And then we'll move down into the thoracic inlet and the thoracic outlet. So we can do that by just rolling our shoulders. And you can kind of do this free form, right? So again, we're just trying to mobilize that area. So going backwards, and then go ahead and come forwards. Making sure that you breathe. Very good. And then go ahead and stand up. So we're going to mobilize the pelvic diaphragm as well as the torso now. So we'll first start by rotating our torso. And just let your arms be heavy. You can let them kind of slap, right? So again, just getting some extra fascia love in the shoulders. Very good. And then go ahead and bring it down to the pelvis. So just like we've been doing in the other areas, we're going to start to rotate it. So first we'll go to the right. Five times, and then we'll take it to the left. And just breathing, going through your full range of motion, just loosening everything up. Good. And fascia loves shaking, so just shake it up. Excellent. And just take a moment to notice if you feel different at all, if you maybe feel a little bit more energized, right? This is an exercise that I like to do when I'm feeling kind of heavy and sluggish, and it just kind of gets everything moving around and makes you feel a little bit lighter. All right, so part of the intention with this lab is not only to teach you guys tools that you can give to your patients that they can take home and use, but also to give you guys tools to take care of yourself. And being a resident can be very stressful. Being a physician in general can be very stressful, and so it's important to have these tools that we can use to ground ourselves quickly when we need to. So our next exercise is going to be diaphragmatic breathing. And so this is a tool that is super helpful for just grounding your energy and getting the fight or flight response to attenuate. So sometimes I'll use this, when you're having one of those 28-hour calls, if you've had a code and you just need to relax afterwards, you can go back into one of the resident rooms and do this exercise on your own. So we'll begin by laying on our backs. Now you can do this sitting up or standing up as well, but learning it on the back is the easiest way to kind of train the muscles into what they need to do. Sometimes it helps to bend the knees, so that relaxes the belly. And then you're just going to start to breathe. You might just take a moment on your back to have a couple just natural breaths in and out to settle in. And then as you start to engage with the diaphragmatic breathing, you want to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. If that feels like a little bit too much, you can also try inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose at first. So you really want to bring the breath into the belly. So drawing the inhale in and letting the belly rise and keeping the rib cage relatively stable. So inhale for a count of 2 to 3, and then exhale for a count of 2 to 3. And as you get used to that motion of drawing the breath into the belly and letting it rise, you can start to extend your inhales and exhales. So inhaling for a count of 5 or 6, and then exhaling for a count of 5 or 6. Sometimes it helps to place a hand on your belly to feel it rise with the in-breath. Something else you might try doing is when you exhale, purse your lips just like you're going to blow through a straw. So let's all just take a moment to do that. We'll do 3 rounds, inhaling to a count of 5 or 6 and exhaling to a count of 5 or 6. Great. And then just take a moment to see how your body feels. You might close your eyes and just take a minute to feel the either table or earth beneath you, whichever one you're on right now. And when you come to get up, just slowly roll to your side. Press yourself up with a hand and come to sitting. So again, you can do that sitting as well, right? And so in this position, you might bring a hand to your belly. Another tool that we use in yoga is as you inhale, you can open the hand up. And as you exhale, close your hand. And that just allows you a point of focus. So that you can turn this into kind of a breathing meditation, okay? Now, sometimes this is difficult at first, especially if we're not used to bringing the breath down into the belly. When we have our stress response, we tend to lock up in the abdomen and our bellies get tight, and so we're breathing with the top portion of our lungs. So if that's the case with you, and I find this to be the case with me sometimes too, because if you're an athlete or if you're like running or cycling, you tend to breathe with the upper portion of your lung as well. So you have to kind of retrain that breath down. So if you are finding it to be a little bit difficult to bring the breath into the belly, just keep practicing and that will be freed up with time. One other point of note is that sometimes people with generalized anxiety disorder are a little too elevated for this to be helpful. And so initially you might have to do other interventions to get them to a place where they can be receptive to diaphragmatic breathing. So if you have a patient or even you yourself where this feels like it's more agitating than beneficial, you know, that's okay. It doesn't work for everybody. Nothing works for everybody. So if that's the case, you know, you might try other things to help get yourself a little bit more grounded. You know, maybe something more physically engaging can sometimes meet your energy where it's at and get you to a place to where perhaps later on diaphragmatic breathing can be beneficial. All right, so now we're going to look at some exercises that we can do for the cervical spine. it tends to be a common place where people get tension built up. I know I personally have a tendency to build tension here, and so I will use these exercises mostly every night. And then I also thought this would be a good opportunity to introduce you to Maxwell, my wiener dog, who is making social isolation a little bit more fun. But we don't need him for this exercise, so we'll put him down now. All right. So we're just going to gently take our neck through its full range of motion. Again, being mindful to not overdo it. And you can kind of think of this as using the same principles as muscle energy, okay? So first we're going to bring our chin to our chest. And so as you activate the muscles on the front side of the neck, you're going to reciprocally relax the ones on the posterior aspect of the neck. So you can just bring your chin down to your chest. And again, you might use those deep breaths that we practice with the diaphragmatic breathing here. You can just take deep breaths in and out. If you want a little bit more of a stretch, I like to bring the hands to the back of the head. Again, I'm not going to press, but I'm just going to use the weight of my hands to have a little bit more resistance. And gently let the neck unwind. Let's take 3 more deep breaths just like that. And just gently relax your arms and slowly bring the head back up. Very good. Okay. Now we'll stretch out the front of the neck. So being very gentle, again, you're just going to take the head back. Now this is enough for me, but again, maybe you want a little bit resistance, and so you can just rest your hands on the front of your forehead. That feels like too much, so I'm just going to stay right here. And let's go ahead and take 3 breaths right here, keeping the core gently engaged so that your spine is supported and you can really isolate the cervical spine. After 3 breaths, gently, slowly bring it up. Again, we don't want to trigger any spasms in the musculature, and the neck can be very sensitive. So we'll go side to side now. So we're just going to drop the right ear over to the right shoulder. Okay. Now you can take the left hand and reach it down towards the earth, and that actually helps lengthen out these scalenes. Just find that spot where you run into a little bit of resistance here, and then just hang out there and breathe. And so with each exhale, maybe feeling that muscle relax a little bit more and lengthen. You can also just gently relax the hand on the head. Let's take 3 deep breaths here. Inhaling for a count of 5 or 6. And exhaling for a count of 5 or 6. Excellent. Gently bring it back. So I like to roll my chin back to center and then bring it back up again, and that way you're not activating any of these muscles and they can stay nice and relaxed. So we'll take it to the other side. And one side might be tighter than the other. One side is typically our dominant side, and that tends to be a little bit tighter than the non-dominant side, which tends to have a little bit more range of motion. So we'll take the shoulder, the left ear over to the left shoulder. This happens to be my tight side. And again, same thing. I'm just going to gently take it to its end range of motion, which is right about there. I might reach my right hand out, getting a little bit more length in those scalenes, and then maybe taking this hand here and start to breathe deeply. So let's take 3 breaths here. just like we did on the other side. Slowly roll the chin back and bring it back to center. So if you're finding that you're having a hard time getting a breath in or out when you're in these stretches, that means that you've gone a little too far in the stretch, and so you can back off the stretch. A little bit goes a long way with these sorts of things. All right, so now that we've gone forward, backwards, side to side, we're going to do rotation. So we'll take it to the right first, and you're just going to look over your shoulder to the right. And as you turn your head to the right, take your gaze to the right. So again, looking back over that shoulder. The example that's in the PowerPoint shows that you can kind of give yourself a little bit of assistance here, but I find that that activates too many muscles, and so I prefer this one for the relaxation. 3 breaths here. And then gently bring it back to center. Very good. And we'll take it to the other side. So looking over your left shoulder, you can draw your shoulders back so that this really isolates the neck. And then take your gaze even further back behind you so that you can get the ocular stretch as well. Three breaths here. And gently bring it back. Very good. So a lot of our lifestyles cause us to have anterior heads, and we lose the lordosis in our cervical spine. This can cause a lot of issues for folks. It can cause neck pain, back pain, and really when you have excess tension in the neck muscles, it can cause all sorts of issues. I see it mostly on the neurology side in people coming in with really tense spastic muscles in their necks, and then it results in migraine-like headaches and cervicalgia. And so oftentimes being able to treat this, so by treating them in the office and then giving them these exercises to take home with them, they are able to get rid of their headaches and their migraines and not have to use medications that can often have side effects, make them drowsy and that sort of thing. So we're going to work on a couple exercises that help bring the alignment back to the cervical spine. The first one is we're going to lay down on a table, and you can actually do this exercise up against a wall also. So laying down on your table or the floor. Make sure that your hair is out of the way if you're a girl, so I put my ponytail up on the top of my head so that I'm not pushing down into it. Okay, and you're just going to bend your elbows a little bit and get your shoulder blades to come right underneath your back. That's it. And then you can bring your palms right back down. So this is a nice exercise actually to kind of integrate into your diaphragmatic breathing. Right at the end of the day, you could lay on the floor, start some diaphragmatic breathing, and then what you're going to do is draw the back of your head into the table. Okay, so just gently, you don't need to force it, and then tuck the chin and feel that lengthening of the cervical spine. And let's just take a couple of deep breaths here. And you can draw your shoulder blades into the table, and you might just feel that kind of extend down into the upper back or even into the middle of the back. One more deep breath. And then fully relax. And just let your head rest for a few moments while you let that settle in. Okay. So just like with muscle energy, also when we practice this activation for a few breaths and then relaxation, it resets all of those muscles. Very good. So for our second exercise, again, we're going to roll to our side and push ourselves up so that we're not activating all of the anterior musculature, causing more tension on the front of the body. We're going to do an exercise. We can do this standing or sitting. I'm going to do it sitting just because of my limitations with the camera. So you interlace your fingers and then press the palms of your hands on top of your head. And rather than pressing down into your head, you're going to press your head up into your hands. And let's take 3 breaths here. So I'm actively pressing into my hands. Activating the muscles of the neck, lengthening through the spine, and then I can relax. Much better. Okay, so again, you're just resting the palms on the head and pushing the head up into the palms, and that helps to relax the neck muscles. So that's it for cervical spine. Next up, we're going to move into the thoracic spine. As we know, neck and shoulder tension can come from both places, and oftentimes cervical dysfunction is causing thoracic dysfunction, or thoracic dysfunction is causing cervical dysfunction. So it's good to have both sides covered. So now we're going to get into the thoracic back as well as the shoulders, which is also my personal favorite. So in the same way that we kind of went through all of our ranges of motion in the neck, we're just going to take that down into the thoracic. So we'll first start with a forward fold. But again, thinking about isolating the space between T1 and T12. So we'll bring our chin down just to get into that region. And then you can take your hands together and bring them down between your knees. So sometimes it helps to have your feet on the floor for this exercise. Drop your head and then just round through the spine. As you reach down with your hands, you'll start to feel that into the mid-back. So let's go ahead and hold here for 3 deep breaths. Again, inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 5. Slowly come on up, and we'll take our back in the opposite direction. So you're going to roll your shoulders back and then just reach your hands back behind you. Again, pressing the sternum forward, and so that helps to extend the spine. Just let your head rest back. Again, thinking about the thoracic more than the neck at this point in time. So as you bring your sternum forward, that's going to help encourage that lengthening. 3 deep breaths here. Gently coming up, coming back into a neutral spine. We're going to go side to side. So for this one, we will stand up. Okay, so we're going to take it to the right first. You can start by just bringing your right hand down to your thigh and then just taking the left arm up and over. Okay, so as you reach down with this right hand and take the left arm up and over, you're activating the side body by reaching down. And then you can further lengthen. Okay, if that's too much, you can also just take it like this and just bring the ear to the shoulder and stretch the upper part of the body. 3 breaths here. Another alternative hand is to just bring that hand to the back of the head if there's any neck discomfort. And then come on up. Okay, so we'll take it to the other side. This time left hand comes down to the thigh. Right arm comes up and over. As you reach gently the left hand down and extend through the right arm, you open up through this whole side body. 3 breaths here. keeping gentle activation in the core so that you're not collapsing into the lumbar. Again, you can try one of the alternatives for the arms. One more breath. Very good, and then nice and easy coming on up. Excellent. Now we'll take it into rotation. So you can grab across the body just like you're hugging yourself, and again that helps open up between the shoulder blades so you get a little extra stretch there. And just like we did with the neck, we're going to take it to the right, but this time turning your torso all the way to the right. As you get to the end range of your motion here, you can look back behind you. As you inhale, you lengthen the torso. As you exhale, you might find yourself twisting a little bit deeper. Let's take 3 deep breaths here. And then gently coming back to center, we'll take it to the other side. I like to cross the other arm over. That way you can get both sides equally. And we'll just twist to the left. Taking our gaze over our shoulder. Lengthening on the inhales and twisting on the exhales. One more breath. And we'll bring it back to center. Very good. So we're going to start to get into the upper back between the shoulder blades a little bit more. We'll start with the right arm. So you're just going to take right hand and grab the left shoulder. And then gently start to push that elbow back towards the spine. And so you should feel this through the back side of your shoulder. I'm not bringing it around necessarily, but I'm just drawing it back. And just breathe deeply here. 3 deep breaths. So you can kind of feel your shoulder blade getting drawn off the back side of the body. Good, and we'll take it to the other side. So this time, left hand grabs right shoulder. And we'll just take the elbow towards the spine as opposed to around. It's going to be towards. There you go. And then just breathe here. You can, of course, do a stretch where you bring it around this way, but it's just getting into a different part of the body. And so right now we're just wanting to draw that subscapularis up off the posterior aspect of the spine. 3 breaths. Very good, and then just relax. Okay, so we'll do some active stretching again using this idea of reciprocal inhibition. So in this instance, we're going to be activating the back side of the body. This is going to help open up through the front side of the body. And then when you release the contraction in the rhomboids on the posterior aspect of the body, it helps reset them and get them to relax as well. So you're getting a little bit of both front and back side opening through the chest space. Chest space can get really contracted, particularly in people who are dealing with anxiety or depression or other emotional issues. We tend to lock up in those muscles. So this is really helpful. So we're going to lay on our bellies. The first version is that you're going to have your arms out like that, kind of like you're skydiving, okay? So we'll bring our heads down to the table. And then we're just going to lift the arms up, and let's hold it here for 3 breaths. Drawing the shoulder blades together. And then relaxing. And you can just take your head to the side and let that land in the body and just let it all relax. We'll take this into a little bit lower in the spine by bringing the arms up overhead. So just like your Superman, we're going to lift the arms up. forehead is resting on the table, lifting the arms up. Let's hold it here for 3, 2, and 1. Now you can do multiple rounds of these exercises depending upon how much time you've got. 1 round is always better than no rounds, but it's advised to do about 2 or 3 rounds if you are able to do so. So that's kind of what you would tell your patients to do, or if you've got time to do it. But again, 1 round is fine too, and you can kind of feel the effects of that as we go through these motions. So the next one is going to be our overhead sitting, and I'll start with it facing you, and then I'm going to turn around so you can kind of see what it looks like on the back. So this is similar to some of the other motions that we did, but a little bit more active. So we'll reach the hands up. I'm interlacing my fingers. Okay, you can have palms facing your head. You can also flip the palms up to the sky. So you'll notice that that kind of gets into different parts of the arms and shoulders. So it's just going to be up to you. I'm going to keep palms facing down. And then I'm just going to take it up and over to the right side, drawing shoulder blades back the whole time. So you can kind of feel that opening up through the shoulders as well as through the thoracic spine. Let's hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back to center, and we'll take it to the other side. Again, lifting and lengthening, and then taking it up and over to the left, keeping a gentle engagement in the core so that you can stay long through the torso. And let's hold here for 3, 2, and 1. And bring it back to center. I'll demonstrate that while I'm turned around. This time I'm going to flip my palms up to face the sky, and I'll take it over to the right. And lengthen. And come back to center. Okay, so when you're doing these stretches, feel into your body and just notice where you're feeling the most tight. Take it to that end range of motion and hang out there and breathe into it so that you can help slowly lengthen and release those muscles. Bonus of doing this lab at home is I get to have my own tea. All right, now we're going to do an exercise for kyphosis. So it helps to have a towel. I'm going to go grab one real quick. All right, so fortunately I was doing laundry earlier, so I had plenty of towels on my couch. So I'm just going to fold it in half and roll it up into a little roll. All right, that's pretty good. And you want to put it at the mid-thoracic, so I kind of use my shoulder blades as a guide here, so you can place the shoulder blades on this. This is one of my favorites, especially if you're hunching over a computer all day long, so that you can help get that kyphosis back and release a lot of the tension that's in your mid-thoracic. Okay, so we'll lay on our back. My wiener dog is trying to say hi again. We'll let him up here real quick. Hold on. Oh my gosh. There we go. All right. All right, Max is going to help with this one. So you can bring your hands back behind your neck. Okay? And again, I've got the roll between my shoulder blades. Okay? So just at the level of the shoulder blade, place the roll, bring the hands behind your neck. Feet are on the table, and you're going to flatten your low back onto the mat. Okay? So nice and relaxed. And then you're going to draw your elbows back towards the table, so that helps open up the chest as well as the thoracic spine. This is a great way to just come home and relax at the end of the evening. Okay, especially if you have a wiener dog to lay on your belly. You can tell this is something that Max is familiar with. He likes to do this often. Okay, let's take 3 breaths here. The next round is going to be with our arms up overhead. So again, we're getting into the bases of the shoulders here. You can adjust the towel as needed. Easy turn to get down now. Okay. So typically you would have your knees bent, but the dog is prohibiting that right now. So we'll reach our arms up overhead, and you'll feel this take it down a little bit into the lower rib cage. Okay, so reaching your arms actively up overhead. Let's take 3 deep breaths here. Very good. I really needed that one today. All right, so again, we're gonna roll to the side. We're gonna get rid of the wiener dog. And we'll come back up to a seat. Very good. All right, so to wrap all of this up, we're gonna get into the shoulders. Last but not least. And so the next 3 exercises you can kind of incorporate into one. We're going to take the shoulders through their full range of motion. We'll start by elevating, we'll then move into protracting, and then retracting, okay? So drawing the shoulder blades out, very different from what we were doing at the beginning, right, where we were just kind of free-form moving. Now we're thinking more about getting the activation and then the relaxation to help reset those muscles. So we'll draw them up, hold for 3, 2, 1, and relax them down. Good. And just wiggle them out. Okay, so you can do that a few times. Next exercise, because we're going to put these all together, so we'll just do it this one time round through. We'll bring the shoulders forward. So really hollowing out the chest, drawing shoulders forward for 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and relax. Okay. And then last, we'll retract. So again, this time, rather than getting the extension through the spine, we're going to keep the spine straight. So rooting down through your sit bones, lifting through the crown of your head, draw your shoulder blades back. So the chest draws forward, but more just because you're drawing shoulder blades back. And hold it here for 3, 2, and 1. And then go ahead and relax. That feels good. Okay? So we'll just do that all together. Inhale up, exhale forward, and then inhale back. And relax. Let's do that again. Inhale up, exhale forward, and inhale back. So you can do it either way. You can do them isolated, one at a time, or you can roll them together. Whatever feels best for you. So play with it, see what feels good in your body. Encourage your patients to play with these and do what feels good in the body, okay? What's most important is just getting these areas mobilized, you know, and so movement is better than no movement. And it's really important that people make it their own and make it feel good. That's what's most important. The next round of shoulder exercises is going to be rotation. So we'll go ahead and bring the hands up overhead. Okay, so this is an internal rotation or an external rotation through the shoulders. Just to show you what my hands are doing on my back. They're just like so. Okay, so some people's range of motion is going to be limited, especially if you have someone with frozen shoulder. They may not be able to get there. They might have something that looks kind of like this or like this. But with time and practice, they'll be able to get that symmetry back, okay? So we'll bring the hands back around, lift the elbows up, okay? So we're reaching down the back and simultaneously lifting the elbows up. Let's hold it here for 3 deep breaths. I like to twist a little bit here, get into the latissimus dorsi, all the good stuff. Ah, so much better. All right, so now that we've kind of worked our way through actively through the body, we're going to wrap things up with a progressive relaxation technique, okay? So it's going to be a guided meditation. So just take this moment real quick to get comfortable. If you want to grab a cup of tea real quick, or you know, set up some pillows to lay on your back. We're going to be doing a guided meditation. So you might do something like sit on a bolster. You might lay down and put a towel underneath your knees. That can help take pressure off the low back. So there's lots of different positions. What's most important is that you find a position right now that's going to allow you to be most comfortable, and then we'll come back and do the meditation.